On this episode of Where in the World is DNL, we're doing things a little bit different. We've traveled to Los Angeles, California to bring you fantastic insight into the topics of business negotiation and business creativity from one of the industry's best sales consultants. We'll visit two of the most iconic beachfronts in the world and check out the sights and sounds of the boardwalks. All this and more on this episode of Where in the World is DNL, SME Edition. Hey, so we're down here at Venice Beach on Abbot Kinney Boulevard. Now this area was originally developed in 1905, paying homage to its namesake, Venice. Today, this area is known for the quirkiness of its beachfront boardwalks, where you'll see street performers, pickup basketball, skate parks, and of course, Muscle Beach. On any given weekend, this area plays host to over 150,000 tourists. Let's go take a look. Hey, so if you're in Venice on Abbot Kinney Boulevard, you gotta check out Salt and Straw. It's sweet tooth time. I've heard from multiple people that this place is the best. I can't wait. Hey buddy, can I try the pear and blue cheese, please? Thank you. I love blue cheese. Thank you. Let's do the pear and blue cheese, please. Pear and blue cheese ice cream. Interesting combination, but it's delicious. Venice Beach is awesome, but now it's time to get down to business. Let's go meet up with Dennis Bain. All right, I'm really excited this morning. We're here with Dennis Bain as part of our subject matter expert series. Dennis, you've helped a lot of companies in a lot of different industries, Fortune 500, with the concepts of business negotiation and business creativity, which I love.
Glad to be here, and Brian, welcome to LA.
Flew in last night, and I'm hearing these planes overhead. I think that's my luggage heading to Hawaii, but
good possibility.
At least I had a side bag. So no, but I'm happy to be here. Beautiful setting here in LA, and we got the beach behind us. With business negotiation and business creativity, it's helpful to start with the basics. Might sound obvious, but what is a negotiation? Talk me through that.
A negotiation is just a conversation that takes place between something called a buyer and something called a seller. A seller is the party who's trying to educate and persuade, convince, and ultimately get agreement to a position that I'm in favor of. That's a seller. A buyer is the recipient of that information. It's as simple as that.
I want to talk about good versus great negotiators. There's a difference, right? I think in the brokerage space, the freight brokerage space, I like to think, and I think a lot of our agents and brokers think that they're good negotiators. Are they great negotiators?
There's no question in my mind that they're all good negotiators. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sitting in that chair and have that honor in that position. As simple as that. The problem is they're human beings. And most human beings are what we call unconscious negotiators. Okay. That means we really don't know what we're doing. We've all acquired habits throughout the course of our life. We've learned what works, we've learned what doesn't work, but we don't know why it works sometimes, why it doesn't work other times. We truly don't know how to identify what we're doing. And even worse, we don't recognize what the other party is attempting to do to us. Unconscious negotiators get overly confident in what they're doing. They make very fast decisions. It's known as shooting from the hip. They're not aware that maybe there's an opportunity for them to do even better. That's a problem.
And so a conscious negotiator is contemplating what the other side is trying to do? Is that accurate or fair?
A conscious negotiator is, number one, aware of what they want to achieve.
Okay.
They set a plan to accomplish that goal. They are anticipating what the other party may or may not do to react to them. And they are allowing for creativity to be infused in the conversation.
You know, the word experience, a lot of folks think experience is a valuable tool in business and personal. You contend that experience sometimes can be a false trap in a negotiation. What do you mean by that?
Well, once again, you become overly confident. So that when the phone rings, you pick it up and immediately you're spewing out solutions and you really don't understand what the issues are. And that means that unfortunately you might be giving things away that you didn't need to give away just yet. You're attempting to solve a problem that is not their problem.
And one of the things that we talked about is this zone of possible outcomes. I find that very fascinating.
It's called money on the table, but understand the word money is anything of value that you need to negotiate over. And you can see on the right side of the chart, in red, we're talking about sellers and the seller's highest get target. So this blue line is the most the seller thinks they're going to get. If you go down toward the bottom, also a red line, the least the seller wants to take. So what the seller has done, either consciously, which is what I hope they do, or just seat of the pants, they have this range of acceptable outcomes on the sales side. Buyers have a most they want to pay. Now usually across every industry, sellers have higher get targets and buyers have higher most pay target, all right? And then go down to the bottom, you can see on the left, the lowest buyers hope they'll be able to get away giving them. So likewise, the buyers have this range of possible outcome. But the real important part of the chart is in the green in the middle, the zone of possible agreement. That zone is anywhere between the most the seller can pay and the lowest the buyer can go.
And why is it important for me to have an understanding of that, me as a negotiator?
Because the what you do and how you do in our conversation will determine where you land in the zone of possible agreement. Okay. And if I am a conscious negotiator, if I'm a buyer, I will more often than not be able to drive that seller closer down to my low pay target. If I am a conscious seller negotiator, more often than not, I'm going to do better. And not just in this negotiation, let's multiply it out to every negotiation you do. If we only do incrementally better in every negotiation, what does that mean to my bottom line for the entire year?
You talk about recognizing both sides' pressures. Walk me through that. Let's just help me understand what that term means with respect to a negotiation.
Everybody in business is busy. If I've taken time out of my crazy busy schedule to have a conversation with you, there's only one reason: I have pressure. It's as simple as that. Here's the biggest problem. Unconscious negotiators are always focusing in their minds on my own pressure. What do I need to achieve? What do I need to accomplish? How can I get it done? Yeah. When I focus on my pressure, here's the problem. Everything you say to me, I'm interpreting through my fear and pressure. And I often misunderstand where you're going. If I enter the negotiation loaded with my pressure, immediately I'm caving in on what's possible for me. If I'm the seller, I'll immediately target lower. If I'm the buyer, I'll immediately offer more without even knowing what's going on.
Going into a negotiation, I want to avoid strictly focusing on my pressures, which is the easy thing to do. The more beneficial approach is to focus on the other side's pressures, right?
Even for people who are truly trained negotiators, there's a nagging little voice in your head about what I have to achieve and what I have to accomplish. So here's my suggestion.
Okay.
You've got to take the time to focus on the other party's pressure.
This is before the negotiation.
You better believe
Okay.
it. This is part of planning. So now that I've taken the time to create that list, look at it, own it,
Own it.
park it.
Okay.
That's not your focus. So now let's turn the focus.
So real quick before we jump to the shippers' pressures, you're suggesting that I identify them, contemplate them, and then get them out of the way.
Yeah, don't
Okay, so
let them be the drivers of your decision making.
Okay, got it.
All right?
I've identified what I perceive to be my customer or shipper's pressures. How does that then help me in the negotiation?
By understanding their pressures, number one, I can better prepare how I'm going to react and respond if these are the primary issues that are driving our negotiation. It will allow me to create discovery questions, to maybe dig a little bit deeper. And in the discovery questions, I'll be able to also share a little bit more positive information that will reduce their risk and reduce their pressure. Immediately, I'm demonstrating to you that I'm the right fit for you. So identifying all their possible pressures, they will tell you what's important to them. Have good answers for those areas. Demonstrate the partnership that you're creating.
Walk me through why it's important for me to understand if I'm fight or flight in a negotiation.
I need to be able to understand how I react and respond in a negotiation so that I can just better prepare myself to see who I'm going to be up against. I may be up against a highly competitive negotiator, and I have to know how to handle that situation and allow my calm nature to be the dominant force in the negotiation, literally flip that conversation. If I, however, really like the fight, I have to temper how I fight. You can be aggressive without being a jerk. You can be forthright and forceful without taking it over the top. It helps to know who you are in the negotiation to do that.
And I think one thing that's very relevant to negotiations that our brokers is having is, and I love this phrase that you used, don't get pulled into a fight with a bully. What does that mean, and how does it relate to what we're talking about today?
Well, first off, there's no question that there's conflict when you sit in that broker's chair. I mean, these unforeseen cradle to graves are going to pop up, and you're going to often get somebody who is blowing a vein on you, and oh my gosh, and you just answered the phone. I was like, hello, how can I help you? Blah! All right, so this stuff's going to happen. They're angry about whatever the problem is. Let them vent. And also try to think beyond just this issue. Start to use language with them. I hear you.
I hear you, yes, that's what I remember.
I understand the problem. The point is, try to diffuse the fight, because right now, the fight is on top of the problem.
Yeah.
We're up here right now. It has nothing to do with solving the problem. Bring it back down. Bring it back down.
So Dennis, is there a winner and a loser to a negotiation?
Ultimately, if you do things correctly, both parties will feel satisfied with the outcome at the end, even when there was a problem to solve.
Is it fair to say that the objective of a negotiation should be less about, I need to win this, and not lose it, and should be more about, let me make sure both sides are satisfied? I know that might be a subtle distinction, but is that fair?
I can make you very satisfied even if you've gone out of your original plan, as long as I have appropriately been able to explain my position to you. That builds legitimacy to why I'm at where I'm at, but always with the intention of helping you. Ultimately, the outcome is going to be determined by what we've done. If you accept it, it's a good decision for you.
And see, I think that can be a powerful tool for our agents and brokers, especially in dealing with motor carriers, trucking companies that we deal with every day. I feel like we go in a lot of times into those negotiations feeling like, God darn it, I gotta win this thing. And the motor carrier's gotta lose. We gotta flip that, and we gotta say, let's drive to a point where we both feel satisfied. Because I think that changes the tone of the negotiation. Is that fair?
It does, yeah. And fair and reasonable is an important concept and also important language that you should continue to always just filter into the conversation. If you set anchors that are just a little too aggressive, immediately that negotiation is at risk.
Yeah.
Because now the other party will either make the decision of, all right, I'm fighting you back on this, or I'm going to succumb to it this time, but I'm not going to answer the phone from you again in the future.
You and I talked about a handful of things that can help you drive a negotiation towards satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Let's talk through those, because I do find those very helpful.
These are just, out of a list of 1 million options, the 5 that I think would really be beneficial to brokers.
Yeah.
The first is when you do communicate, whether it's to a carrier or to a shipper, make your statements declarative statements and make them short and clear and concise, and then shut up. Let them react and respond to you, because there's a high probability they will be reacting to whatever is their greatest pressure. And you just discovered what their greatest pressure is by how they react to your declarative statement. Don't ask permission questions when you negotiate. Don't say something like, would it be okay if we do this? No. You've just given the other party the opportunity to say no. So instead say, here's how we will proceed. The second is, do try to set your targets a little bit higher. Have planned reasons why you are where you are. By setting that target a little bit higher, you're actually changing the zone of possible agreement a little bit better in your favor. And again, if it's just incremental differences over the course of a year, big bottom line numbers.
And Dennis, that goes back to being a conscious negotiator.
Absolutely.
Knowing where your targets are and perhaps adjusting.
Here's number 3 on the list, which is so simple and important. If someone ever asks you to make a concession of any kind, make a contingent. Ask for something back. Ask for something back.
Give me an example.
I might be able to do that for you, Brian, if you can do this for me. After dinner, we're going to go to the ice cream shop I want to go to.
Okay.
Okay?
It's my kind of night right there.
Another one is this easy concept of when you're getting ready to say yes to the other party, just pause for an extra few seconds and maybe make a noise like this. Well, raise a feeling of doubt in the other party. Here's why. If their pressure is great enough, they may interpret it as not quite there. They may make another concession. Or if you ultimately do say yes, they believe they pushed you as far as you could go. They now feel like the winner. The last one to talk about, though, is one that comes up a lot. Split the difference.
Love this concept.
Split the difference, okay? That is the most satisfying way to close a deal, because we're done and it feels like we both really just made the decision, okay, fine, we'll both suck it up a little bit. So let's say that I am a seller at 100 and you're a buyer at 50.
Right.
We have a $50 gap. And after going round and round and round, I finally say to you, Brian, you are freaking killing me here, but I'll tell you what, I'm willing to split the difference with you. We'll come down to 75. And you say, okay, Dennis, and we shake hands on the deal. Let's do some math here.
Yes, the details are in the math.
When I, the seller, moved from 100 to 75, I made a 25% decrease in price.
Yes.
When you, the buyer, agreed to move from 50 to 75, you made a 50% move in your position. We don't really think about that.
Right. You think the math is equal, but it's not.
Instead of you agreeing to the $75 split price, you could say to me, Dennis, really happy to hear that you do have some room to move. Happy to hear that 75 is potentially a good number for you. Gotta tell you the truth. can't quite go there. And what we've done is just changed our range of conversation between 50 and 75 now. And when we do, and perhaps you'll say to me, I'm willing to split that difference with you, Dennis.
Okay.
I'll take you out to lunch. Now we've made a really important incremental change in our conversation.
What makes what we do so special are relationships at the end of the day. Relationships with the people we work with our agents, but also getting to meet folks like you and your successful career and journey and getting to hear about that. So we just thank you very much for coming today.
There's a great barbecue place I know about.
Thank you, Dennis.
Take care, pal.
All right. Some valuable insight from Dennis Bain. Can't wait to put a lot of that stuff to work. And let's head up north to Santa Monica to see what kind of trouble we can get in. Hey, so we're at Bay City's Italian Deli, the most famous deli in all of Santa Monica. We got to know our order before we go in, so I'm ready. Let's go. Hey, so can I get the 26-inch Godmother with the works? Thank you. That's a big sandwich right there. Oh, nice and hearty, this fresh bread. Can't wait to dive into this bad boy. The freshness of the meats, the crispness of the bread, the balsamic vinaigrette, a little olive oil on there. It's a great combination. Mamma mia, I see why they call it the Godmother. So the sign says it all. We're at the end of the trail. We're just up the road from where we met with Dennis, and we're at one of the most photographed places in the world. LA's best pier, the Santa Monica Pier. Originally built in 1905 as a public utility for the city of Santa Monica, this area has undergone an incredible transformation to what is today an eclectic collection of amusement park rides, carnival games, and a local culture you must experience to believe. Let's go give it a ride. So one of the things we talked about with Dennis was the importance of satisfaction in any negotiation. You want to make sure that other side feels satisfied, which means there's not always a clearly defined winner and loser. But I'm going to try and win this ring toss game. This is tough. What's the secret? Come on! It's impossible. So we talked with Dennis about fight or flight. Now, I'm a little bit in between, somewhat fight, somewhat flight. But I'm gonna whack this mole. I'm in fighting mode. Let's go.
Today, you want to get into shit about the plan. Don't keep unlocking those moles when it is number 2. Congratulations.
All right, what do you want? You can have my prize. So if we remember the zone of possible outcomes, sometimes you gotta set higher targets. Number one, I'm in the zone, I've set a high target. Here we go. Not today. All right, here we go. What's this dollar gonna do?
Zoltar, the great gypsy, at your service.
Nervous. My fortune. Standard setting directives you set must be followed, but the important thing is self-reformation. Whew, what a day in LA. It's been a whirlwind 24 hours. What a wild and beautiful place all at the same time. We had a great experience. We got to walk the boardwalks of two of the most iconic beaches in the world. And I got my fortune told, which is cool. And the star of the show, we got to spend some great time with Dennis Bain. got to get some of his insights, and I can't wait to implement some of the things we talked about. We got a few more adventures before we get out of here, so we'll see you next time on Where in the World is D&L?